Hello everyone, I am Daelyn Arthur and today I will be doing an interview for my careers project. The career I have chosen is youth ministry. Tell me your name and what you do for a living.
My name is Jeremy Clark and I am the Associate and Youth Pastor at Tulip Church of God here in Bloomfield, Indiana.
Okay, tell me about your occupation.
My job as youth pastor here at Tulip Church really is probably one of the greatest jobs that anyone could ever have. My job description has a lot of boring things that are listed, but the things that I really like most about my job are a few things. First, I get the chance every week to talk to middle school and senior high students about Jesus and the life change that he can bring in their lives. I also have the pleasure of getting to create an environment. We have a youth group called 180 Student Ministries, and I have the chance to create an environment for kids to come in and be themselves, to get to sit in a church building and not feel judged or to feel like anybody is looking down on them. They get to come here, be themselves, and it also is a place for them to have real, life-changing, authentic relationships with other high school and junior high kids that are trying to live their lives for Jesus as well. One of the reasons I decided to be a youth pastor was because when I was in high school, I had an older person that poured all of their time into me, was there for me when I needed them, and I wanted the chance to be able to do that for high school and junior high kids because someone had done it for me in my past. And that's one of my other roles here as youth pastor is I get the chance to hang out with kids throughout the week or during basketball games or at youth group so that I can be an influence to them because someone was an influence for me.
What is the degree or certification for this job, and where are two places that you can get this?
Churches are a very unique place of employment. Most places require for you to have a degree, a bachelor's degree, or an associate's degree. However, in churches, that's not necessarily needed for you to be employed at a church, or in my case, to be a youth pastor. You can go to school to be a youth pastor. You can get your bachelor's degree in biblical theology, or you can get your bachelor's degree in youth ministry. I myself attended two different universities. I attended St. Louis Christian College, and I also attended Lincoln Christian University. They offer bachelor's degrees in youth ministry and preaching degrees, and that's what most people get whenever they go to school to be a youth pastor.
Now, can you tell me what the average annual salary is for youth ministry?
The annual salary of a youth pastor really does change from church to church. It depends on the size of the congregation or the number of people that attend that church on a regular basis. Some youth pastors start out anywhere from $20,000 a year and upwards of $40,000 a year. But again, it really varies depending on the size of the church that hires you and how much money they're able to pay you to do your job. I will add one thing, that most youth pastors don't do this for the money. They do it because they feel like they are called to, and that they want to be able to change the lives of teenagers and to help them out. So pay really isn't the highest priority when people are trying to be hired by a church for being a youth pastor.
For youth ministry, what is the employment outlook as of 2013?
The occupational outlook for a youth pastor is really kind of hard to nail down and to define. I would venture a guess, though, that there are certain jobs that will always be in demand and will always have a future, and I believe that churches and youth pastors in general, that is a profession that will continue to have a need for a very, very long time. I would think that in a time whenever a lot of people are looking for answers and are searching for the truth or what they would think is the truth, people will always turn to churches and to pastors, and especially teenagers, because everyone knows at that time in their life, they're trying to figure out who they are as a person, and they'll always be looking for some kind of help or some kind of advantage into figuring out who they are and what they want to be. So youth pastors as an occupational outlook is probably a pretty good job unless there's going to be a shortage of teenagers, and I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
In high school, are there any courses that you could take to help prepare you to be a youth minister?
Actually, there are several courses that someone could take while they're in high school that would help prepare them for a job in youth ministry. The first one that I automatically think of is anything that will help you be a better public speaker. Speech class is a great way to get you prepared for a job in youth ministry. A bulk of my job is standing up in front of people or sitting down in front of people and teaching them the Word of God from the Bible and practical ways that I can apply the Bible to their lives. So speech class would be probably one of the better classes to take so that you could be better prepared to be a youth minister and to perform all the jobs and duties needed to do the job of a youth pastor.
Most jobs need work experience. Are there any places in Bloomfield that you would recommend high school students work for to prepare them for youth ministry?
If I were going to recommend any job for a high school student to have during their high school years that would prepare them for youth ministry, I would recommend any kind of job that puts them out in the general public dealing with and working with people. My job as a youth pastor revolves heavily around my ability to work with people in the general public and being able to have patience, but also being able to relate to people on an everyday basis. So if you worked at Dairy Queen and got to work with people in the general public, you could work at Subway, you could work at a gas station, you could work at the Chinese restaurant, whatever it would be that helps you get to be out with different kinds of people in the general public and dealing with all the personalities that this world has to offer.
I've heard you say before that you love your job, but why do you love your job?
That is a great question, and it is true. I do love my job. I get the opportunity every week to sit down with teenagers, to talk to them about Jesus and what he means for their lives. I also have the privilege of getting to do things like going to Sky Zone and taking mission trips and leading kids on adventures all throughout the United States. I just this past spring break took kids on a mission trip to Arizona, and I got to spend a week helping them understand what life looks like outside of Bloomfield, Indiana. I get the chance to meet people, and I get the chance to baptize kids, to help them decide or make the decision to live for Jesus, which I think is the greatest decision anyone could ever make. I love my job because I get to live my life and I get to point people to Jesus, who has been the one that has changed my life greater than any other person. My job as a youth pastor is to point people to Jesus, and that's one of the reasons that I love my job the way that I do.